Today I'm going to show you how to make great ad creative by pulling back the curtain on the internal systems and processes that have allowed my company to put out over 1,000 ads a month. So whether you're a brand, whether you're an agency, a dropshipper, a creator, if your goal is to make better ads, this video is for you. I'm Alex Cooper from Adcrate.co, and today I'm going to be going into more detail than ever on how we pump out winning creatives. So I've put a lot of time into this presentation. I hope it's worth it. Here's what we're going to be going through today. I've split this into 3 sections. So we're going to start off by talking about the research phase and how to ideate and script write on your ad concepts. Then we'll talk about best practices for creation and how to go about creating and editing ads. And finally, we'll talk about performance, where we talk about how to go and test your ads, analyze them, and then optimize based off of what is happening inside of the ad account. What you'll also get from today's video is the exact process I use to come up with ad ideas, how to infuse AI in your creative strategy, which is something that I've spoken a lot about already on this channel, how to build a creative workflow that scales and a creative team that scales with your creative production, the tech stack for an 8-figure ad strategy, the 3 cheat codes to 10x your creative output, why I think traditional UGC is dead, and what my predictions are for the year, i.e. what we can do about it to evolve. And finally, how to build a creative flywheel so that we are identifying our winners as we see them inside the ad account, iterating on them, and optimizing that flywheel over time. So let's get started. The first thing I do when making a new creative is not make a new creative. And the reason is you need to understand your audience on a deeper level first. Let me explain what I mean by that. Most people think that they know their target customer. But when you ask them, they say things like, he's this age, or he's this gender, or this income. And they give you what I call demographic data. And demographic data is great, but it only tells one side of the story. What we're really interested in, especially for direct response advertising, is the psychographic data. So things like what their pain points are, what their buying triggers are, their core values, what they fear, what they desire, and who they idolize. Because with this information, you can really craft messaging that speaks to them innately in a way that you wouldn't be able to if you only had the demographic data. Problem is, the only way to get these insights is by doing the stuff that everyone doesn't want to do. The dirty work. So looking through customer reviews, feedback surveys, inside the ad account, looking at people's ad comments, support tickets, competitor comments and reviews, and social listening to your customers. Really taking a pulse of your customer base and understanding the nuances and how they communicate with each other, how they talk about the product, what their value props and pain points are, and understand the phrases and the terminology that they are using when they are speaking. Because if you can then take that and sprinkle it back into your messaging on the front end, you are then communicating to your customers in a way that will feel like they're not being spoken to by a brand, but instead they're being spoken to by another customer, which is all essentially UGC, and we'll get onto that later today, really is. And this stuff isn't fun, it isn't sexy, but it is extremely important. And it's not just something that we should be doing once. This is something that we should be constantly doing so that we're taking the pulse of our customer base. And the reason why we need to do this is because when you are buying an ad, you're essentially competing on the newsfeed for your customers' attention. And you're not just competing with your competitors, you're also competing with every other brand that is trying to buy a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or a TikTok ad or whatever it is. And you're also competing with everything on the organic feed for your prospects' attention. So things like friends posts, families posts, memes, all these things that they would rather see than your ad. And ultimately, the person who knows, or the person or brand who knows their target audience the best is going to be the one that stops their attention and keeps their attention and is ultimately able to go and deliver the message that they're trying to deliver. And let me show you a real life example of social listening that we've done for one of our clients. This client sells anti-dandruff shampoo, and I just Googled Reddit plus pain point, which is Reddit plus how to get rid of dandruff, or something along those lines. And I found this subreddit called Casual Conversation with a guy who's posted this, got a lot of upvotes, got 390 odd upvotes, finally seemed to found an answer to my dandruff, try not to cry happy tears. And the emotive language that he's given us in this post is golden. There's loads of golden nuggets that we can take in here. Take these exact phrases like he had an intense source of insecurity, or his hair was itchy and irritated. All these methods yielded little to no result. These are exact phrases that we can take and then we can put into our ad scripts because they are phrases that the customers are actively using. And if he's having this pain point and hundreds of other people have upvoted it, this is likely going to be language that people resonate with. So you can do this by going through this exercise yourself, but you can also use ChatGPT to help you. With every new client that we onboard, we always put through the customer reviews into ChatGPT and say something along the lines of, like, I'm going to give you a bunch of reviews about my product. I want you to analyze them and split them into these categories and basically prioritize what customers are saying by what comes up most to least. So in the category of like value props and pain points and desires and like prior solutions, you can split it out however you want, but get ChatGPT to go through that massive file and find out what people are saying, what phrases they're using commonly, so that we can take that and sprinkle it into our ads. And then once you've done that, you've got all of your research, you've got all of ChatGPT's research. What I like to do is I like to put it into one big document, and I like to list out the USPs and the pain points that I consider the primary ones. I'll put them in priority order. And here's something I found really useful for when writing scripts. When you do this, take little snippets and tidbits that you see inside the reviews that you want to use in ads and put them underneath the relevant USP. So for example, this is for a multi-cooker device that stops people from having to use like their oven or their air fryer or a steamer or like loads of different tools. It just turns it into like one device. So I've taken some of the points from the reviews, like a pressure cooker, steamer, air fryer, and more. That's a snippet that is under the space-saving USP, so that we can take that, and then when we're building out the body of the script, we can just go, okay, we want to talk about the space-saving USP, so let's go and pull one or two of these lines. And that's really, really helped us develop the body of our script. So I'd highly recommend that you do that as you're going through these reviews, or as you're getting ChatGPT to go through these reviews. And this is easily something that can be put together by the AI too. We'll come back to this shortly. Let's now talk about the ideation. How we've got the research phase done, and yes, I've massively oversimplified that, but let's just assume that you've gone through all of the points discussed there. Let's talk about how to take that research and turn it into some ad ideas. Now, I do want to preface this section by saying that there are multiple different ad formats that you could and should be using inside your ad account. I mean, we've got accounts where high production is working best. We've got accounts where low production is working best. We've got accounts where like statics or GIFs or carousels are working better than any type of ad format. For the purpose of today's video, I'm going to be focusing on low production content. However, a lot of the things and the frameworks that we're going to be going through are applicable, so you can just take them and apply them to high production or apply them to statics or GIFs or carousels. But I don't want you to look at this video and think, oh, I should only be working on low production because that's what I'm going through here. Important preface, but let's carry on. So my creative strategy process looks like this. We've just covered the research phase. Let's talk about how we go about getting inspiration from elsewhere. Then we're going to take that, we're going to put it into one big brain dump, and then we're going to decide on which concepts we actually want to take through into briefing. So when it comes to ad inspiration, there are a few different places that I like to look. But I always think a good place to start is actually on the organic feeds, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is create ads that feel like they should blend into the organic feed, at least when it comes to low production. So that's spending a lot of time on the Facebook feed, on the Instagram feed, on the TikTok feed. And actually, one thing that we've been having a lot of success with, at least recently, is finding things that are proven in a specific industry or niche on the organic algorithm, and then taking those concepts or those hooks or those clips or whatever and applying them to our paid ads. So for example, we just worked with a creator recently who had a post blow up organically on TikTok. I think it got like 3 million views or something, and it was related to the exact pain point that we were solving for. She just didn't introduce the product as a solution. So we took that concept, made it as an ad, and that went on to become one of the best performers. And I think a large part of the reason that it performed was because we've taken something that's already battle tested in the algorithm, something that's proven to get people's attention and keep people's attention, and then we just leverage that in our paid ads. So we didn't necessarily skip the testing phase, but like a lot of the work had already been done by the organic video. So when you're doing your research on Instagram or on TikTok, search for videos that have gone viral in your industry or about your specific pain point, and see if there's anything that you can get creators to recreate or leverage in your advertising. Now, you also want to be looking outside of your industry, because there's a lot of inspiration you can get from other different styles of ads on TikTok or Instagram. We also have quite a few ad libraries that I frequent often, and the reason that I do this is because, especially with the brands that are spending a lot of money on paid social, if they're doing a lot of something and they've been doing a lot of something for a long time, it's usually because it's working for them. So you can't always tell. You don't know the behind the scenes of what happens inside of people's ad accounts, but just getting that as inspiration, I find to be helpful as well. I also come across good ads from time to time on Twitter or LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a few suggested follows of people who post solid ad inspiration. So how do we take this information, these ads from all these different platforms, and organize it and centralize it in one place so that we can decide which ones we then want to go and execute on for our brand? Well, that's what I use Foreplay for. Now, this is not a Foreplay sponsored video. That was the last video. But I do just use them every day, and it is a very useful tool to have some kind of swipe file. I'm actually going to jump out of the presentation right now to show you guys how we've set up our Foreplay and how you can use it to help your team's workflow. Alright, so we're inside of the Foreplay library, and as you can see, we are literally saving down ads here every single day. And we've got a ton of different ways that we split up our boards, and I'm going to walk you through them now. So we have ad creative formats that are very useful for both the strategy and the editing team. The strategy team to categorize the different ads that they're seeing out in the wild on a daily basis when they're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. And also for the editors too, because if we are producing an AI ad, for example, we can say to the editors, like, hey, here's what we want you to do. And this is an example, like, here's a board of 20 other AI ads. I mean, this is new, so it's probably going to have a couple on here. Yeah, okay, it's only got one on here. But we can say, like, here's how this edit should go. Here's a board of a ton of other edits in the style that we want you to produce in. And that gives the editors so much more context and has really improved, at least decreased the amount of revision we've had to give. Because they've got stronger inspiration, whether that be a ad creative style or a font style or an edit style or like a banner or whatever that is. Just giving them inspiration on something to work with can help both on the strategy side and the editing side. And I do want to emphasize that you absolutely should not be solely reliant on external inspiration for your ad creative. I mean, what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to take all the information that we've gone through, both in the research phase and the ideation and inspiration phase, and we're going to put it all into one document, and then you're going to select, okay, these are the ones that I want to go forward and actually take into development. It's about using a combination of the stuff that you see internally on your research and the stuff that you see externally by going out into the wild and finding some ads of what other people are doing, and then using a combination of that to go, like, this is the ones I actually want to take through. So we've got boards for all different types of ads here. And we've also got ones for clients, of course, and then creator styles. Ones for older creators, which is a pain point for a lot of brands, couples, families, if we want to reference them. And by the way, we'll reference these in creator briefs as well. So if there's a specific type of shot or a specific type of ad that we're trying to go for with the creator, we could say, hey, here's what we're trying to do. This is like this is a board of like ads that we're trying to create this ad like. Which gives them context too, because then they know, like, they're more in line with what you're trying to create for your ad. Edit styles too, which we sometimes use, Facebook edit and TikTok edit, so different styles of edit, handing these over to the editing team when they're editing, and then just other ones. Everyone on the team has their own swipe file to encourage people to save down things that they see. Production, studio ads, ugly ads, which is something that we will talk about later today, and different types of industries as well. So yeah, couldn't recommend getting some kind of swipe file tool highly enough. We use Foreplay. It very much helps everyone in the creative process get context as to exactly what the vision of that strategist is. Otherwise, it can become like a bit of a game of Chinese whispers. Like, the strategist will see it one way, the creator will see it a different way, the editor will see it a different way, and then by the time it gets to the end ad, it's actually nothing like the original vision was for the ad. So very helpful, but let's jump back into the presentation. So this is what I was referring to a moment ago. And this is the exact workflow that we use to work out what ads to take into production. You've got inputs from the creative strategists, from their own research. You've got inputs from the AI, from the ChatGPT prompts. You've got inputs from the external inspiration, from the ads that you've seen on TikTok, Instagram, etc. You're going to take all of those inputs, put them into one massive brain dump document, which we'll look at in a moment. And then, as the creative strategist, it's your role to then decide, I'm going to take this one, and this one actually into production. And this is how I see the creative strategist adding value to the brands that they work with going forward, because it's going to be with AI and with all these tools that are coming out that are helping people with ideation and research and coming up with angles and hooks and visuals. There's going to be no shortage of ideas. It's going to be about prioritizing and working out based off of what you know about the audience, the customer, and the ad account, what has resonated with people so far, working out from these ton of ideas that we've got, what ones make the most sense to actually push into production and conduct tests on. So that's the literal process that we use. So going back to the sheet that we had earlier, where we started brainstorming USPs and pain points, now we're going to develop it by starting to brainstorm hook and visual ideas. Now, so you might be wondering why we are starting with the hook and not with a concept idea or just general strategy. And the reason that we do that is because of this guy, who you may recognize. He knows a thing or two about video production. This is, of course, Mr. Beast, and his advice for YouTubers is to start with a title and thumbnail and then build the video around it. And I love this idea because it's the concept of working out how to pierce someone's attention. Like, what angle are we going to use to grab someone's attention? Because, as you guys know, people are not on their Instagram feed or on their Meta feed, or their Facebook, I keep saying Meta. They're not on their Facebook feed to see your ads. In fact, that's the last thing they want to see on their feed. They do not care about you or your brand or anything that anyone's trying to pitch them. All they care about is looking at friends and family, looking at memes, looking at funny things, looking at things that are going to distract them from whatever they're procrastinating from. So we've got to work out what's our in to get their attention, and then we can work out after that, like, how we're going to sell them on the idea of clicking through to the landing page and hopefully buying the product. But firstly, we need to work out how we're going to pierce their attention, because it might sound obvious, but you can have the best ad in the world. If you haven't got a way to pierce someone's attention and get their attention, they're not going to see the rest of the ad, which is why I like to start with the hook, work out how we're going to get that attention, and then work out how to build out the rest of the ad, rather than building out the ad and going, oh, like, let's see what hook we can tag on the front of this. I think it's genuinely as important as the rest of the development of the ad itself. So taking that and applying this to what we do, start with the hook and then build the ad around it. So that's what I went and did for the Ninja multi-cooker, which I should have put the links to the product page on. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. I've come up with a bunch of different hooks and visuals for us to go and take into development. And then I went through the process of defining which ones we want to actually take into production. I've picked my favorite ones, and those are the ones that I go and take into development. So that is the ideation phase complete. Now let's think about how we're going to take these ideas and turn them into briefs and scripts. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on this today because it's something I've already spoken about extensively on the channel. If you want to see me actually go and write scripts, both on my own and with the use of AI, then check out these two videos where I actually go into detail on the process that I use for doing this. For the sake of today's video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about AI and how I use AI in my script writing, and I'll give a couple prompts. But these videos, I would go and watch in more detail if you are interested. So here are a couple of the prompts that I use when I am writing ad scripts with AI. First of all, we've got this problem agitation prompt where I ask for the main pain points when it comes to the product. So in this case, it was fixing dandruff. It listed out all of the pain points that people faced, and then I said, now in the style of Ogilvy, write a direct response ad script agitating that pain point. And the reason that I made this prompt is because I found that internally, I didn't think that we were agitating and really twisting the knife with some of the creators that we were making. And this idea of sitting in the problem is one that I've spoken about on my channel before, but one that I really think that brands could lean into more, especially if you have a really poignant pain point. If you can really twist that knife and make that customer feel that pain point, like the more you can make them feel that pain point, to me, I look at it as like a catapult. Like, you're pulling back the catapult, and then when you introduce the product, it's like, then you're releasing it. And the more that you can dig deep into that pain point, I think the more you're pulling back that catapult and giving people a reason to want to fix that problem and fix it with some urgency. If you can really sit in the problem and not introduce the product. I mean, some of my favorite ads I've shared on here before and I've got on the 4Play boards are ads that literally don't introduce the problem until 20, 30, 40, 50 seconds into the video. They're just digging into that pain point and then they come with a solution. So that's what this was born out of, and this prompt has given us a couple of really nice agitation scripts where it sits in the problem. And we don't do this on every single script, but just the idea of at least having a variation where we really dig into that pain point and split testing that against just going problem, agitation, solution. That one's helpful. We've also got this one here, which has been helpful for getting ChatGPT to give us natural sayings from customers. So if you've put through a few hundred reviews into the AI, sometimes when you ask it for a summary, it will give you very corporate jargon speak, which is difficult to turn into an ad script. So we said, according to the customer reviews, basically give me 10 real use cases of customers using Julep. and basically find out use cases and speak in their language. And that gave us a load of lines that we could then take and put into the body of our ad scripts was very useful too. So getting ChatGPT to spit out common pain points or common benefits, but in the language that the customers are using, which is essentially what we're talking about in the research phase, but just turn that into a ChatGPT prompt. I'm kind of hesitant to share AI prompts with you guys because this stuff is great, but what I don't need to be doing is just thinking that you should be seeing prompts online and you should be plugging and playing, because at the end of the day, I'm not building these to build some kind of AI playbook. I build these as I need them, and that's how I want you to think about ChatGPT. You shouldn't be thinking, oh, what are the templates that I can just take and just apply to my brand or my product or whatever. You should be thinking about what are the specific problems I'm facing right now with this script, and how can I work with the AI to help me solve these problems. So in this case, my script I didn't think had enough agitation of the problem, so I said, give me some agitation. In this script, the body of the script didn't have enough, the tone of language wasn't relatable enough, so I said, give me this. So instead of thinking about what are the templates that I can plug and play, think about where are the gaps in my script right now, and how can I work with the ChatGPT or AI that you're working with to help you fix that script. And sometimes that might not be something that you can see. So ask that you can put the script into AI, you can give it maybe 3 to 5 winning ads, transcriptions of scripts from foreplay, and say, what do these ads have that mine doesn't? So then you're basically solving the equation for things that you do know and things that you don't know. I mean, that's just a couple ways you can go about it. But yeah, think about what problems are you facing, and then how can the AI help you with that, rather than what tactics can I plug and play, because AI prompts will change, things will change, and that's just worth mentioning. Anyway, however you go about it, I want you to consider this when you're working with creators. How much freedom or direction do you want to give them in your briefs? And I have quite a bit to say on this, because as someone who's, we've put out scripts where we've given full direction, we've put out scripts where we've given almost no direction. I think that, as in many cases, the best way to do this is the unscalable way, which is to do it case by case. In an ideal world, you would say every single brief that we put out looks like this, or every single script that we put out looks like this. I just don't think that is, if you're talking purely from a perspective of optimizing the best creative, I just don't think that that's possible, because there are certain types of angles and certain types of scripts or certain types of creators that you'll work with where more direction is needed. And you'll need to go and put in a full script with visuals and a shot list. Sometimes, if you do that, and especially to certain creators, and you restrict their freedom by giving them more direction, you can actually put them in a box and not allow them to express their creativity. So it really, this isn't the thing that you'll want to hear from me, but it really is on a case-by-case basis of working out, for this specific angle or for this specific idea and for this specific creator in this industry, do we need to be giving more direction or more freedom? Because I can say at Adcrate, we've done both extensively, and we still do both with every creator and with each brand that we work with. And I will show you an example of both. This is one of our scripts with more direction. So as you can see here, it's a full script. We've got a shot list, and we define what kind of shot it is, the audio. So is it dialogue? Is it voiceover? Is it whatever? The visual, the script, and any references to any clips or ads that we've produced before. And then we'll also create briefs like this with more freedom that say, hey, here's the overall concept we want you to execute on. Here's 1 or 2 value props that are key, that need to be mentioned at some point. Go and have fun and kind of make it your own. And like I said, you probably only want to do this with more experienced or better creators, because giving too much freedom to the wrong person can backfire in a significant way. But if you do have the idea for it, and if you are working with good creators who can execute on this when they have more freedom, it definitely can allow the better ones to express their authenticity and actually come across as customers, because that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to come across as creators. We're trying to come across as simulating the effect of being another customer who has just loves this product so much that he or she wants to make a review for it for free and just post that on social media, because that's all UGC really is. So once we make these briefs, we package it inside of a generic direction that we send to all creators. So you've got things on here the overview, Sometimes we put a loom in here to explain the brief, the deliverables, to be very clear on exactly what we need from you and what we don't need from you, so there's no confusion as to what they're giving us, because that can happen a lot. And then you've got here the link to upload it somewhere. So yeah, you've got the link to the Google Drive file where they upload all the content. And yeah, basically taking away all the FAQs and questions that we've been getting from creators and just put it into one document. And then we nest the brief inside of there, so they can click open and that'll go to their dynamic brief, which, I mean, if you want to get super nerdy, goes into the back end of Notion, and then it all syncs up, so you can just change the filters so that any creator can dynamically see the brief that they've been set. But I don't know if that's going to make it in. Yeah, so that's nested inside of there, and we send it off to the creators. Now, let's talk about creation and actually making the ads. But before we do that, I do want to quickly talk about workflow. Now, I didn't know where to put workflow in this presentation because it's not really a part of the creative process. But the idea of how this all fits together in the back-end systems and how we have our team operate these systems is something that I do want to cover. So, just quickly. Notion is how we set everything up, and we actually have a dashboard so that when the strategist puts through these ads and they send them over to the creator uploads into the Google Drive, and then this is sent over to the editor. The editors, all of our editors, and we have I think 6 on board or 7 on board now, all of our editors can log into their dashboard and they can see exactly what's in progress, what's in review, and the priority for their work. And that we have a reviewer dashboard as well, so that everyone can see exactly what their priorities are. Just makes things very smooth and make sure you can track all the ad creatives. We have a back-end Google sheet that tracks analytics and performance so that we can work out what we want to then put through as new content into here. But that's how we're managing workflow from a creative standpoint. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire diagram, but this is if you want to go more nuanced and actually look at what the entire process looks like from a high-level view, but every single task and who's carrying out those tasks. This is what it looks like. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I do have to keep some source for my private consulting clients. But the people managing this workflow are the creative strategist, the creative coordinator who has group chats with all the creators that we work with. We have a performance manager or media buyer, although we don't necessarily run the media buying for all of our clients. And a creative director who oversees this entire process and does the reviews. That could be a creative director, that could be a CMO, a head of growth, or whatever. But we manage all of this across all of our clients with these 4 roles. These 4 roles. So let me quickly talk about tech stack, and then we can move on to the actual creation of ads themselves. So here are a few tools that we find very important. And yes, there are other ones beside this, but here are ones that are key to the creative process. So you've got Motion for creative analytics, which we will touch on later in this video. We've got obviously OpenAI, ChatGPT for ideation, for research, for scripts, for feedback, for everything. Notion for management of operations and the whole workflow being housed inside of there. Slack for communication, mainly communication with the clients, but sometimes on specific creatives or sharing inspiration that we've seen online and talking about ideas and brainstorming. 11 Labs, which I don't know if we are talking about later, which has been really useful to produce some AI ads with voiceovers over the last few months. We've had multiple winners inside of different accounts with these AI voiceovers, which I'm super pumped about. Frame.io, which is how we do all of our video feedback or all of our asset feedback. So the editors will upload into Frame.io, they will change it in review, and then the strategist or whoever is reviewing the ad will go into Frame, give the feedback, come back, and then put it back into in progress. We've got Air, which I'm going to mention later today as well, and finally Foreplay, which we've already spoken about for ad inspiration. So when it comes to finding creators, I've generally found the most success on the platforms that we are creating ads for. So if we're creating ads for Meta, I found success on Facebook or Instagram. If it was for TikTok, then TikTok. But not exclusively. I mean, I just found the best creators that we've found have come through those platforms. There are other platforms that you can use for this, like B-Roll or Billow, but I've just found that the creators on here, I mean, I don't know if it's because they don't charge enough, so they can't pay enough to maintain top creators or whatever, but you end up having to pay for 4 or 5 bad takes for then 1 good take, which ends up just costing net the same amount that you would have paid for a good creator that you found on TikTok or Instagram anyway. Twitter, there's a UGC community on there that can be very hit and miss, but we found some creators through there too. And then Fiverr, I've actually found quite a few good creators through there. And Backstage, if you want to go the actor route, although I will give a little bit of a word of warning with that, sometimes actors are not as proficient when it comes to using a camera and set themselves up, and sometimes they try and almost over-egg it when it comes to the lines that they're delivering. But we have found some good people on Backstage as well. But wherever you go to find them, remember this: we do not care how many followers they have. We could not give less of a crap. We've got creators that we've worked with in the past who have hundreds of thousands of followers who have been awful. Like, they have created ads for us that have completely tanked. We also have some of our best creators that don't have a following at all. They don't even post on TikTok or Instagram. So what we do care about is, can they tell a story? Can they do it authentically? And can they do both of these through a variety of different content? Through their A-roll, through their B-roll, throughout different videos, different styles. I care about, can someone come across as authentic on camera when they tell stories, way more than if they've got 1,000 followers or if they've got 500,000 followers. At the end of the day, we are not asking for them to post on their feed when it comes to like lower production UGC style content here. We are doing this purely for paid social, and what wins on paid social is authentic storytelling. So that's what we should be screening for. Now, it's not easy to find creators that can do this consistently, but there is one more place that you can find creators, and that is your customers. And this is something that I can't believe more brands are not doing more of, because there is no one who is in a better place to authentically tell a story about their transformation with your products than the people who actually use your products on a day-to-day basis. And this is effectively all that UGC creators are trying to emulate. Like, they are trying to emulate the experience of being a customer and actually recording for you. So yeah, the lighting may not be as good, or they may have some issues with their setup, or they may just not have as much experience in front of a camera as a creator. But who really cares? I mean, take a look at this ad from Ovi. This is an actual customer testimonial. And I don't know the numbers behind this ad, but I'd be willing to bet that this actual before and after of a real customer showing her transformation and talking about how she's lost over 35 pounds with this product is performing better than any creator getting on camera saying, I feel so much better, I feel so much more energized, my nails are better, my skin's better, I've lost weight. Because this is an actual testimonial. I think people can see that because it's real and it's authentic. So what I'm doing with a lot of the brands that we work with is sending out emails like you can see on the left here, asking for customer testimonials and incentivizing people to do that. You can use platforms like Uplifted to help prompt them to record testimonials and send them into you and use them in your ads. This is something that I'm very bullish on going forward, because I think people are starting to suss out UGC, or like traditional UGC, and this is what I was referring to at the beginning of the video, and what's going to shine through in the next 12-24 months is real authentic transformations, and the best source of those are your actual customers. People don't care the fact that the lighting is poor or the setup is poor. Actual authenticity is what people are craving. And that segues very nicely into the idea of making ugly ads. And if you've seen this guy around, Barry Hott is an absolute legend. He talks about this all the time. And I want to show you an example of an ad that changed someone's life that demonstrates this very well. So let me play this through. Before I show you this, I just want to give some quick context. This video did over 40 million views, 500k likes on TikTok Organic. It made the creator over 300k from TikTok Shops. And if it made the creator over 300k, I can only imagine the brand has made 7 figures off of this one organic video alone. And what I want you to look at is how stupidly simple it is and how easy and ugly it is to shoot. So let's watch it through.
This is by far probably the top 5 coolest things I've gotten from the TikTok shop. It is the Anker 622 magnetic battery. It is completely wireless. It's USB-C powered. There's this little button right here, and it literally just pops onto the back of your phone, and this thing sticks. Like, it will charge right away, and it lasts longer than any battery pack I've ever had. Not only that, but this little guy actually turns into a stand that's really strong, and you can put your phone sideways on it, and if you have the new iOS, it'll support the new alarm clock mode as well. The other cool thing about this is you can just keep it charged overnight, and it can be just a wireless or a charging stand while your phone is charging the battery pack. When you want to leave, you just unplug this and take it with you, and you have a solid charger that's not going anywhere. So it's on sale right now. It's $49. It's literally the cost of any charger, and it'll replace everything, and you'll have it for a long time. So make sure you grab it while you can. Link is going to be right here if you want it, and follow for more steals.
40 million views that did. And look at it. Like, it's literally shot on an iPhone with the flash is still on. The phone that was shown was broken. Like, there are so many things that are just ugly and just authentic about this that I can, in hindsight, see why it's done well. But compare that to, you know, the thousands and thousands of dollars on the brands are spending on ad creative, when this idea of making things ugly and authentic and relatable is what people are resonating with at the moment on their feeds. So how do we take this concept of ugly ads and apply it to the stuff that we do? One thing I like to think about when we're working with creators is every sequence that we get, thinking about, is this something you would see on the organic feed? Because here's the thing, creators, like, they love to use ring lights, and we love to use like tripods and all this setup and all these things that make things look pretty. But at the end of the day, if we boil this down to what we are trying to do here, we are trying to emulate the idea of a customer who uses the product, picking up the phone and just recording a testimonial on their thoughts of the product. And the reality is, most customers do not have ring lights or tripods or setups. So can we think about shooting things handheld, like the two clips on the screen here? As you can see, Barry on the left is walking, and on the right, we've got the creator doing a close-up of her face. Neither of these feel staged. And even if you don't notice it consciously, subconsciously, like, customers have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of ads with the setup, or with the tripod, like, creator setup now. They are becoming desensitized to them. This is the way that you blend into the organic feed, because this feels like something that you would see on the organic feed. Someone just walking and talking, or someone just doing a real close-up, like, low angle of their face. It feels like something you see organically, so it's more likely to keep someone's attention rather than go, oh, this must be another ad, I'm going to click straight through. And here's a couple more examples here. I mean, the clip on the right is someone in the car, and I spoke about this on the channel before. For whatever reason, car clips perform very well across multiple different accounts for us. Maybe it's because it feels like something that's being shot organically, or it feels like something you see on the organic feed. But we've got multiple accounts where car clips are in the top performer. On the left-hand side, you've got almost like a couple taste tests. Instead of setting up a tripod and camera in front of a table and then tasting it together, she's actually, like, moving the camera and going and then getting his authentic reaction. That looks like something you'd see on the feed, rather than something that looks staged, and subconsciously it's make people going to realize that this is an ad, and they're going to scroll straight past. Yeah, and actually, these are all clips that have featured in multiple top-performing ads for this brand, because we provide creative for this brand. So, you know, I'm not just saying this stuff is working in this account and many others that we run. And it all goes back to that idea of thinking, every clip that we're shooting, is this something that you would see on the organic feed? If it's not, if it looks staged, if you can tell it's staged, you bet that people on the feed who are not looking to see your ads, they don't care about you or your brand, they are not looking to see it either, and subconsciously they'll be able to tell subconsciously that this is an ad, and they're going to keep scrolling. Here's one more example I just want to show you of a direct comparison between something that we got in the same shoot from a creator. We've got this setup. I can't remember if it was someone holding the camera or if it was like a tripod setup. And in the same shoot, we also got this. Now, which of these do you think subconsciously feels like something you'd most be likely to see on the organic feed? Well, if you guessed the one on the right, then you would be correct, because, like, what customer or, like, what normal person, and I'm not digging out the correct, she did a great job on the shoot, actually, but she's eating pretzels. No normal customer who is, like, actually creating a review for pretzels would go and set up a tripod and a stand and record themselves sitting down like that from a high angle. That just wouldn't happen. So looking at that versus the clip on the right, where she's leaning into the camera, she set it up, like, it looks like there's no setup there. She just set it up on her table. She's got, like, maybe she's got the natural light from the light above in the kitchen. That, to me, looks like a lot more organic video, and something that I would see on the feed, and something that I would be more likely to stare around and listen to what she's saying. Rather than on the left, it looks staged. It looks like she's been asked to say something, which would imply to me that she's, like, trying to pitch me something. So just thinking about that when you're giving direction to creators, or if you're on set, like when you're working with creators, about thinking of how we can make this feel more authentic and more like something that you would see on the organic feed. Cool. Right, that is the creation side complete. Now I want to talk about the edit, because in the same way that the creators that you select have a very big impact on who this is delivered to and how it performs, so is the way that it is edited. And if there's one thing that I want to, I'd like you to get from this video, it's the idea of throughout the entire process, from like the ideation to the strategy to the brief to the creators being selected to the edit, throughout the entire process, really thinking about the person on the other side of this ad, not just the demographic motivators, but the psychographic ones, the things that we covered right at the beginning. Think about who that person is, what they're also seeing on their organic feed. Like, what type of content are they consuming? How is that edited? Has that got quick cuts? Has it got like fast pacing? Has it got transitions? Has it got effects? What does the text look like? Is it TikTok native text? Is it not TikTok native text? So like things like this, and then thinking about how can we create an experience that's similar to what our customers already see on their organic feed, so that we can blend in to stand out. And this is not just through the strategy, not just through the creation, but in the edit as well. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. And if I'm starting to sound like a broken record, then good. I should be. Like, this is very important stuff that should be considered. And a lot of brands do not consider it all the way throughout their creative process. So here is an example of an ad for an older generation or an older demographic versus a younger demographic. And as you can see, all the things that we just went through a moment ago, we've got, TikTok text. Here we've got two different styles. It's not necessarily very easy to read. We've got a green screen, which is like a nice native style. I mean, I haven't actually played this ad, but like there's a lot of quick cuts and there's a lot of things going on. Compare that to the thing you got on the right here, which is a very bold and clear professional shot video. It's got a headline at the top, which is very easy to read text. It's got colors to emphasize the key points. The pacing is slow. There are barely any cuts, and there are captions, very clear to read captions on the black and white at the bottom. Very different ad styles, and even like taking the same ad that you've produced and using these different effects. I mean, I'm going to put some of them up now. Like, if you use different effects, or the pacing, or the text, or the variety that you use, can massively affect who resonates with it, therefore affecting who it's delivered to. So if you want to go after a younger audience, generally, not exclusively, but generally, you want to apply these things. An older audience just wants simplicity, things that are slightly slower, clear and bold and easy to read. And the great thing is, as we spoke about earlier, you can have inspiration boards for each one of these on foreplay. So you can say to your editors, if this is something that you want to produce for an older audience or a certain type of ad, you can say, here's a board with 20 other older demo ads that I want you to create this like. Go and make something like this. And that's going to be a lot easier than just saying, do something with slower pacing or bigger fonts or bolder text or whatever. And as you keep adding to these boards and giving them more and more inspiration to work off of, by osmosis, your editors will start to learn how to treat different types of angles and how to treat different demographics in the edits that they're putting out for you. Now, I want to talk about 3 cheat codes to 10x your ad output. And I debated whether to put these in here because I was going to gatekeep them for my private consulting clients, but I was like, no, I'm going to put this in the video because I think a lot of people could get a lot of value from these cheat codes that we use every day at Adcrate. So, number 1, I alluded to this earlier briefly, but using Air to organize your files, or using some kind of file management platform that you can segment your content and your creative through. And the way that we do that is by having every single clip that comes in gets uploaded into Air, and then you can apply filters, like custom tags and filters and different variables to each part. So as you can see here, if you look closely, we've got the type, so it's either, I do this. You've got the type, so it's A-roll or B-roll or static or studio or production or whatever. You've got the concept that it relates to. You've got the brand. You've got the product. So basically, any variable that you want to add on here, you can add that, and then you can filter down by the specific variables that you want to hit. So for example, if you want to say, I want to see all of the A-roll from creator Kelly Jensen, you can do that, and it will give you just the A-roll from Kelly Jensen. And this becomes really useful, especially for your editors when they're creating mashups, because then they can just say, give me all of the A-roll about this product, or give me all the B-roll from this, and this creator, or like about this or about that. And then we have also tags for like winning sequences or performance sequences or our favorite sequences that people can filter down to if they want to get some proven clips inside of the ad and mix that up with some newer stuff. So there's so much you can do if you can build a system, and we have a VA that just uploads everything into here and tags it properly. The next evolution of this is I'm going to start tagging hook and body and CTAs so that our editors can literally go in there and build their own mashups. They can just pick a hook, they can pick bodies to put together, they can pick CTAs, and literally they can just start producing ads themselves without even any like strategy input on stuff that needs to be included. And yes, the strategist will work on the feedback with them in frame, but doing this has seriously helped our editors massively. Once again, this is not a paid promotion. We just actually use Air all the time in our day-to-day operations. Second thing, train your editors to think about performance. And this is something that has been another huge unlock for us, because the problem with most creative teams right now is it's a very one-way like workflow. It's very much strategist says, editor, go and do this, go and make this cut, and put this hook here. Editor goes, okay, great, I'll go and do that. But the editor doesn't really understand why they're doing that. And when you can spend the time to educate the editors on why the hook goes here, or like why you're testing this variation, or like why we're making a shorter version as an extra variation, or why we're choosing to do this, or whatever it is. When they start to understand why, then they can start coming up with their own ideas as to how to make additional variations or additional ads. And this is important because, remember, like, the editors are the ones who can see all the raw footage. Like, they're the ones who know the files better than anyone else. And if they're able to go, oh, actually, I think that, this is what the strategist suggested, but I also think we should do another variation where we test, like, this hook or, like, this clip that I've seen elsewhere in the raw files. So, for me, this is a 3-step process. Yeah, this is like, I'm not exaggerating. This is like having a creative team on steroids when you implement this 3-step process. So number 1, educate them. So you've got to sit down with your editing team and your strategy team, sync them on like why people are giving the feedback that they're giving and like the reasons behind the decisions that we're making and the feedback that we're giving. Then step 2 is that you track. So how we've done this is something that we'll get onto in a moment when we go into the testing part. But we have like every single edit that we put out is tagged by editor, it's tagged by strategist, it's tagged by theme and all the other things. So we can actually track, and we have internal leaderboards and dashboards for how all the editors' ads are getting on. So that's pulled in from an API from Meta, but you could very easily do this in a platform like Motion without getting too like nitty-gritty into the details. But then we can see, okay, editor number 1, like these are the edits you've made. Like these are the edits that you've made that have been in the top like 10 percentile. Like these are the edits you've made that have done really well. The editor can see that. They can understand why they like the ads that they've done that have performed well and why they perform well. They can go and like run their own analysis. So now they understand like why we're doing the stuff that we're doing. They can see the data in real time for what the stuff that they've made that is working and not working. And then the third step, and this is when it becomes like on steroids, is then you incentivize them based off of the stuff that they are doing well. So you basically say to them, hey, like the strategist is going to give you ideas, or like they're going to give you suggestions for how to build out the variations. If you as the editor have additional ideas for variations or concepts that we should be doing, go and make them. And if you make them and they do well, then you'll be incentivized off the back of that, because we've given you the education, we've given you the tracking, and now we've given you the incentive to go and do that. So when we did this, we started having our editors put out like way more ads and come up with their own ideas. So instead of just strategist defines the ad and the editor makes the ad, it's almost like a combined effort of like strategist and editor are coming up with ideas. So yes, the strategist is still leading it, but if the editor sees an ad like, oh, actually, I think we could do something with this clip, or we could do something with this hook, they do that, and they're incentivized to do that because they will get bonuses and bounties off the back end. And genuinely, no exaggeration, this is like having your creative team on steroids. I would highly recommend implementing this at some point if you can in your business. The third and final thing, and something that I have spoken about on the channel before, but I'm going to keep speaking about it, is using ChatGPT 11 Labs and a content library. So this kind of links in to the second point, where we had this, well, it links into both points, really. We've got the content library inside of Air. It's got all of our clips, and it's segmented properly. We've got the editors who are incentivized to go and make additional variations because they've been trained and they know they can see what's working in real time. They're incentivized to go and make additional ads. Then you say, use ChatGPT and 11 Labs and content library. And I've made a video on this, on how to actually like go about doing this, which I'll put somewhere like on the screen now. But the idea is ChatGPT writes the script, or at least drafts the script, and then you as the creative strategist go in and modify it and tweak it. 11 Labs will do the voiceover, and then you can just send it straight to the editor to spin up an ad in pretty much no time, because then you have to do no back and forth with creators, no payment with creators. It's literally, you can go from idea to fully completed concept in like less than an hour, and you can make unlimited variations of these like really, really, really easily. We've got multiple of these types of ads that are performing well actively in ad accounts right now, and it's a pure volume play. Like, it's great. If you said to me like you've got one ad to make the best performing ad in the ad account, would I do this? Not necessarily. But if I can then go and test in the same amount of time that you'd be able to test one ad, I'd be able to test 10 ads through this, and I'd be able to get learnings quicker and more efficiently. And absolutely, I mean, if you're not doing this, then you are like absolutely missing out. I share a ton of examples of this on my Twitter, so yeah, go and follow there if you want to see me talk about this in more detail. But I'm incredibly bullish on this type of ad style this year and going forward. But those three together, like working together, I mean, it is creative on steroids. And you can 10x your ad output using these three strategies. So let's talk about what happens once you've completed your ad and you want to start testing inside the ad account and getting some data behind it. Now, what I'm not going to do is turn this into a media buying video, because I do actually have something coming out soon where I talk about how to test ads at different spend levels, but I am going to cover some of the fundamentals that you need to have in place so that you can build your testing framework. The first thing you want to do is define what constitutes a statistically significant test inside of your ad account. Now, over the last few years, I've seen way too many brands not understand when to make that decision of scaling or killing or doing nothing to an ad. And oftentimes they'll make the decision too early, which means they either end up scaling something that shouldn't have been scaled and cost them money, or killing something that shouldn't have been killed and actually have potential, or they'll make it too late and they end up on missing out on potential for a scaling ad, or they end up spending on something for way too long and they just end up wasting money. You need to define what that metric is, and I've seen different people do it different ways. I've seen people do it like on a multiple of AOV, so for example 3 times AOV. I've seen people do that through CPA, so a multiple of like a 2x your target CPA, either in platform or third-party attribution. And third-party attribution is not something we're going to cover today, but it will be in that media buying video that I've got coming up. But you want to effectively take the emotion out of the media buying and define when that threshold is. Because then if you can do that, make sure every ad that you've got spends up until at least that threshold. Then you can go, okay, does it make sense to scale this? Does it make sense to kill this? Or does it make sense to leave this continue running? And one more thing, if you are scaling an ad, please, please, please do not turn off the original. If something is working inside of a testing campaign and you want to move it to a scaling campaign, great. Move it to a scaling campaign, but do not turn off the thing that is working in the testing campaign. Because I see brands do this all the time and it is infuriating, because at least my philosophy is, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's working, let it continue working, and then see if you can replicate that performance inside of another campaign, whether that be another testing one or a scaling one. In this scenario, we have a couple of ads that I would consider moving into the scaling campaign. And to provide some context, this ad account, the target CPA in platform is $50. We've got 2 ads underneath that CPA, that target CPA. However, I would not necessarily kill the third one because it hasn't spent their target threshold, which is 2 times CPA, which is about $100 on at least at ad level. So who's to say that this doesn't go and spend another $27 and it ends up getting a few purchases and comes below that threshold, and then we either keep it or we continue scaling it, we move it into scaling. So in this example, I would move these two ads into the scaling campaign, but I would leave them on inside of this testing campaign, or this testing ad set rather. Which one of these two is performing better? Now, there's arguments on both sides. My personal opinion on this is as follows. I am very much of the opinion that spend is the primary metric inside of Facebook ads, and I'm hesitant to say, like, there is one North Star metric, because at the end of the day, you always have to look at a combination of different metrics to come to your conclusion. But at the end of the day, it is an auction, and the algorithm knows way better than we do what a performing ad is and isn't. So my theory is that if Facebook is prioritizing an ad over another ad, regardless of whether it's more efficient or not on a CPA level or on a ROAS level, Facebook prefers that ad because it is a better ad and it is doing things that are keeping people on the platform and or getting them to click through to the product page. So I would personally say that the top ad here is the top performing ad because it has commanded the most spend in the auction, and Facebook has preferred it over the other ads. But I can see the argument, and especially, I mean, it's only been $590 of spend. If this continues to spend another like grand and a half, maybe you'll see different numbers inside of what is commanding spend in this ad set. The next thing you want to do is set up your naming conventions properly. Now, this is probably one of the most underrated components of a successful ad strategy. How many brands I've come across where their naming conventions just all over the place, and they have no way to track other than pretty much the eye test and what's working inside the ad account, rather than actually breaking down the themes and the angles at a granular level to see what's working across the account and across performance historically. But my approach to this is a very granular one. We track everything inside of our naming conventions. That way we can break up the data on the back end. And at least being an agency, being able to do this over multiple accounts is very helpful. If I ran a brand, I would do the same thing, because as you can see here, we break this down not just by concept and by name of the concept, but by theme of the concept, by angle of the concept, by the strategist, by the editor. And especially if you're spending at scale, to be able to get these insights quickly and easily and turn them into visuals and charts, which we'll go into in a moment, is very useful. Maybe you won't necessarily need this level of nuance if you're only spending, less than 100K a month. But as you scale, insights like this are harder and harder to find just by looking inside the ad account or looking inside like a creative analytics platform. So you'll want to make sure that you're tracking everything so that you can pull out these variables and identify these trends and things that you wouldn't otherwise see on the back end. So setting up your naming conventions and having some kind of naming generator like this is very useful, something that all brands should be implementing. Then you can go and set up your creative analytics. And this is a platform that we use called Motion. Once again, not a paid promotion. I love using Motion. We use them all the time for a bunch of our clients. And that really just does help take some of these naming conventions and actually turn them into reports. Because then we can set up the custom variables that we set up, like broken down per editor or per strategist or per theme or per angle. We can compare them against each other and get clear visuals based on the metrics that we want to see, whether that's like CPA, whether that's ROAS, whether that's spend. However we want to break it down, we can break it down with some visuals, and it makes it very easy to understand for not just like the people who are in the ad account on a day-to-day basis, but everyone on the team, from the strategists to the editors, so they can see what's working and what's not visually, rather than just looking at a load of numbers. So would highly recommend Motion. We have custom reports I've obviously blurred out here, and the ads inside of here, and there's so much stuff that you could do inside of here. But the key to having that is having a proper naming convention set up so that you can set up these custom reports in the back end of Motion, and you can track everything that you need to track. Cool. Let's talk about iterations. And this is something that I don't think enough brands spend enough time working on, because everyone's so focused on net new content, but they forget that it's a lot easier to take something that's working and iterate on it and try and improve it, rather than go for a completely new swing. Yes, the potential for performance unlocks is higher with a completely new swing, but it's also a lot riskier to do that than take something that's already worked inside your ad account and try to improve on it. Or to take something that's not worked and see if you can find some unlocks. And to me, there are a couple of different ways that we can break this down and do iterations to this concept. I want to do it on this, what I would consider top performer in this ad set so far. This ad that's spent $370 and is currently operating under the target CPA of $50 at 46. So there are two ways to go about your iterations. You could go about it through a database approach, or you could go about it through the eye test. And I think both are warranted, and both you need to be using to make the iterations on your ads. In the context of this ad that we went through a moment ago, the CPA or the spend or whatever your North Star metric is will tell you what ads you want to iterate on, and then actually the secondary metrics and a couple of things we'll go through now, these are the things you want to look for to determine what part of the ad that you actually want to make the changes of. For example, here we've got on this ad a hook rate of 40%. That's good. 40% is great, actually. So we are doing a good job at getting someone's attention. And by the way, a hook rate is the percentage of people who are staying to the 3-second mark of everyone who's been shown this ad. So everyone on their feed that gets shown this ad, 4 in 10 of them are getting to the 3-second mark. That's good. What's not good is that the hold rate is 8%. And that means only 8% of people are getting to the 15-second mark of the ad. So what that tells me is there's a little bit of a disconnect between the hook and the first 3 seconds and the first 15 seconds. So is there something that we're doing to, I don't know, like, is there something misleading about the hook? Or is there, is the hook just a bit of a bait and switch? Or like, what is the disconnect between the hook and the hold? What is that reason that people are dropping off? Is one of the clips right after the hook really boring or not interesting enough for people? Or like, have we just started showing something that's not relevant, or we've stopped, like we haven't agitated the problem as much as we could have? What is in that 3 seconds to 15 seconds period that is causing people to drop off? And that is where I'd start my iterative work. Because there's not a problem with the hook here, so we only want to fix parts of the funnel or the Adcrate funnel here that need improvement. And right here, this is telling me that the hold rate needs improvement, the hook doesn't necessarily need improvement. So, can we think about turn it into a mashup, or changing the clips after the hook, or making the hook feel a little bit more synchronized with what comes after the hook? So those are the kind of things that we're looking at. You want to look at your attention charts as well. So in the same way that we just looked at, the hook and the hold and why there's a drop off there, are there certain points in your attention charts that you can find inside of Ads Manager where people are dropping off, and why is that? Now, I will preface this by saying that, there are, like, this doesn't include people who are actually clicking through to the page. So there might be a huge drop off because people are actually clicking through to your landing page. So this isn't, like, I wouldn't take the retention chart as gospel. However, if there is a significant drop off at a certain point in the video where you like change the angle completely, or you change the clip, or you did something completely different, you can probably tell that that's because of that change or that thing that you made. So we're looking into the retention chart to understand why people are dropping off, if they're dropping off, and the less steep that curve is, the better it is for us, because that means people are sticking around till the end of the ad. So we're using retention charts, and we're also using breakdowns as well. So in this case, we've got this ad that spent $370. The majority of that spend has gone towards females. Now, I can tell you that in this ad, we had a combination of male and female. Actually, I think it was like slightly skewed male. So there's a couple different ways you could look at that. Are the females, is it being delivered to the females because they are responding to the males? Or is there an opportunity for us to improve performance here by tapping into the people that this is being delivered to? So one iteration that I would create of this ad is I would turn this into a mashup, or I would turn this into some kind of like concept where it's taking all the female clips only and adding in just female only clips. Because if it's been delivered to 75% a female audience right now, if we can just turn this into an all female ad or mashup, can we maximize our efficiency in the people that this ad is already in the people this ad is already being delivered to? So that's one iteration that I'd go ahead and make along with the couple that we spoke about in this point here. So that's how you do it for the data. You can also do it through the eye test. And for that, we have what we call our iterations playbook. And it is what it sounds like. It's just a playbook of plays that we would run on a creative by just looking through the ad and going, oh, I think this could benefit from doing this, this, and this. So we obviously wouldn't make every single play every single time, but you look at the ad and go, oh, I think this would make sense in the context of this ad. So in our iterations playbook, we've got length changes, winning hooks from other ads, mashups, either using the ad as a base unit and weaving other clips, or keeping the voiceover and then just weaving B-roll, summarizing the scripts and turning it into a robot voiceover or an AI voiceover with 11 labs. We can get creators to re-record the script, have multiple creators green screen the ad, have them duet the ad, and there's other iterations like whitelisting and turn them into statics. So there's a ton of different ways that we can look at an ad, and we'll just watch the ad through as a team and go, okay, we should add winning hooks from other ads, we should turn it into a mashup, we should do this. And then of that playbook, you pick the plays that you want to run, and then you turn those into iterations. And when you combine that with the database method, usually we've got a lot of different ideas as to how we can go about improving an ad. And then we do an analysis on, once the iteration's been tested, okay, has this worked, has this not worked, how do we log the learnings and learn from this going forward in this account? And that is our creative playbook, all the way from the strategy and the research and the ideation to the creation to the performance, testing, and iteration of the ads. And from there, you just want to keep on feeding that flywheel and optimizing over time, making better and better ad creative. And that is our entire process from A to Z, taking you from the research and ideation done up front to creating the ads, to actually test them inside the ad account and iterating on what works and what doesn't. But there is one more thing that I need to share with you. You can go through everything today and implement it yourself, and you have more than the tools to do that. But if you would like someone to do this for you, and you would like a team of experts to work with who do this stuff regularly for brands spending over $100K a month on ads, and up to, actually in cases, up to 7-8 million a month on ads, then do get in touch and head to adcrate.co to see some of our case studies and some of the creators that we've produced using this entire process. We have done this many, many times for brands and helped them achieve results like Perfect Gene, who've helped double their revenue year on year, Obopop, who we onboarded and 4x their spend and half their CPA within 45 days. If you're interested in that, head over to adcrate.co and you can fill out a form to get in touch. But otherwise, I hope you found this video valuable. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.